The van rattled down the cracked asphalt road, swallowed on both sides by dense woodland and the long shadows of dusk. Summer was ending in Pennsylvania, and the once lush forest now stood quiet and brooding, as if holding its breath for what was to come. The group inside the van was too caught up in their own excitement to notice. "Are we sure this place even exists?" Maya asked from the passenger seat, folding the printed directions like a stubborn map. Her tone was skeptical, but her eyes were alive with curiosity. "It exists," said Tyler from behind the wheel. "Trust me. Professor Klein told me about it. Said it was some colonial-era house abandoned since the 70s. Locals call it Black Hollow Estate. Creepy name, huh?" "Creepy everything," added Serena, clutching her camera like a newborn. "I've been researching this place for weeks. There's barely anything online. No photos. Just a few blog posts from ghost hunters who all said the same thing: it watches you." The group fell silent. 5 students. 1 film project. That was the premise. For their senior documentary course at Temple University's film school, they'd agreed on something ambitious and risky. A documentary about urban legends, hauntings, and unexplained phenomena. Something that would stand out. Something real. They didn't expect this real. The van pulled up to a rusted gate flanked by stone pillars, partially hidden by overgrown vines. A crooked wooden sign hung above: "Private property, trespassers will be prosecuted." The letters were faded and clawed, as though something had tried to erase them. "Okay," said Noah, the sound tech, opening the side door and stepping out. "This is either the beginning of our careers, or our obituaries." Carmen, their producer and the most grounded of the group, popped out behind him and clapped her hands. "Guys, come on. We're here to film, not to spook ourselves. Let's get this footage. 3 nights. Then we're out." They cut the chain on the gate, it was barely holding on anyway, and drove up the weed-choked driveway. The house emerged slowly from the mist like a shipwreck, dark and impossibly tall. 3 stories of rotting wood, gabled windows like watching eyes, and a roof that sagged like tired shoulders. The team unloaded their gear with nervous energy, exchanging forced jokes and laughter. But Maya kept glancing up at the 3rd-floor window. She could have sworn she saw movement, a flicker of shadow like someone had just stepped back from the glass. "Do you see that?" she asked Serena quietly. Serena turned. "See what?" "Nothing." They entered the house through a side door that groaned open under Tyler's push. Dust swirled in the golden slant of their flashlights. The air was thick with mildew, old wood, and something else, something like wet iron. They moved through the rooms, filming the decayed furniture, the cracked wallpaper, and strange markings on the floorboards. Noah began picking up odd interference on his audio recorder, high-pitched clicks that didn't match any natural frequency. By midnight, they had finished their preliminary sweep. They set up static cameras in 3 rooms: the kitchen, the upstairs hallway, and the parlor. Tyler insisted on an interview shot by the fireplace. They lit candles around him for atmosphere. "I know what you're thinking," Tyler began, addressing the camera. "Another group of students chasing ghosts trying to get famous. But we're not here to fake anything. If there's something in this house, we'll find it. Or it'll find us." Just as he said the last line, the static camera in the parlor glitched. A single frame flickered in, an unfamiliar figure in the background. "Well, so, watching. No one noticed. Not yet." Later that night, Serena played back the footage while everyone else set up the sleeping bags in the hallway. She paused. Rewound. Froze the frame. There it was. A woman. Gaunt. Eyes like black pits. Standing behind Tyler, expressionless, translucent, as though half faded from reality. She looked up from the screen, her hands trembling. "Guys." From upstairs came the soft, unmistakable sound of footsteps. But they were all downstairs. The air froze. Serena's whisper, "Guys?" hung in the room like a curse. Noah looked up from his headphones. Carmen and Maya stopped unrolling the sleeping bags. Tyler, still sitting by the fireplace, blinked slowly as if shaking off a trance. Then the sound came again. Thud, thud, thud. Deliberate, slow. From upstairs. From the 3rd floor, the one they hadn't explored yet. Everyone exchanged glances. Tension snapped tight like a violin string. "I thought we agreed no one goes upstairs until tomorrow," Carmen said quietly. "We did," Tyler replied, already standing. "We also agreed to document everything." "Yeah, and we also agreed not to die," Maya snapped, clutching her flashlight tighter. But Tyler was already heading toward the staircase, the floorboards groaning under his boots. Serena called after him. "Wait, Tyler. You need to see this first." He paused, turning back. She held out the camera, frozen on that single haunting frame, the pale woman in the background. This was behind you. Less than 5 minutes ago. Tyler's expression shifted. His cocky smirk faded, replaced by a slow, creeping unease. He stared at the screen, then at the space behind him near the fireplace. There was no one there, he said. I swear. Exactly, Serena whispered. But the camera saw her. Silence stretched too long. Then Noah stood up and grabbed the boom mic. Okay, I vote we check upstairs now. While we've got light. And numbers. If something's up there, I'd rather face it awake than find it hovering over me while I sleep. Carmen hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. Fine. But we stay together. No splitting up. This isn't some dumb horror movie. They moved in a tight cluster up the creaking staircase, flashlights sweeping over faded wallpaper and cobweb-choked sconces. The second floor was empty, at least as far as they could tell. Dusty portraits stared blankly from the walls. Doors hung crooked on rusted hinges. But the sounds hadn't come from here. They moved up again. The third floor. It felt different. Heavy. As if the air itself resisted them. Every step stirred up more than dust. It stirred dread. They found themselves in a narrow hallway with 3 doors. Left, right, center. Tyler reached for the center one. It opened with a dry moan, revealing a bedroom frozen in time. A child's bedroom. The wallpaper peeled in soft curls, printed with hot air balloons and birds. A tiny bed sat in the corner, its mattress sunken and mold-stained. On the floor lay a music box shaped like a carousel. Carmen stepped forward and crouched. Why would a kid's room be up here? The rest of the house looks like it was abandoned by adults. Maya knelt beside her. This doesn't make sense. This room looks newer. Not clean but newer. Then the music box clicked. They all jerked back. It began to play. A soft, broken lullaby, slow and out of tune as if the mechanism had rotted along with the house. The carousel began to spin. But no one had touched it. Tyler stared at it. Okay, that's not right. Then from behind them, in the hallway, whispers, soft, indistinct, like someone praying or speaking in a language too old to understand. Noah swung his mic around. I'm picking it up. Shit, I'm picking it up. It's not in the room. It's out there. They turned off their flashlights. The whispers grew louder. Now they were words. Just one word repeated over and over. Stay. 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 A sudden slam. The door behind them shut on its own. Serena screamed. Tyler lunged, yanking it open again, no resistance. Just an empty hallway. No one there. But the air smelled like sulfur. Like burnt metal. I'm done, Maya said, backing out of the room. We shouldn't be here. We shouldn't be here. But Serena wasn't moving. She was staring at the wall beside the bed. Her flashlight trembled in her hand. Scrawled on the peeling wallpaper in what looked like dried blood, was a single sentence. The camera sees what the eye denies. What the hell does that mean? Carmen whispered. Serena, still frozen, finally turned. We have to check the tapes. All of them. Every static camera. If they're showing things we can't see. We've got to know what's here before it knows us, Tyler finished grimly. They raced downstairs, adrenaline surging. Back in the parlor, Serena ripped the SD card from the static camera and slid it into her laptop. Everyone crowded around the screen. Footage played. Hours of nothing. Then, at exactly 1:13 a.m., the hallway cam. A figure emerged from the shadows. Barefoot. Wearing what looked like a 19th century nightgown. Long hair covering her face. She moved slowly as if gliding rather than walking. Paused in front of the camera. Then, she looked into the lens. As if she knew they were watching her now. Her mouth moved, silently forming a word. No audio. Serena cranked the volume. Still nothing. Noah leaned closer. Wait. I've got an idea. He synced the hallway cam footage with the audio recorder Noah had left running upstairs. The word came through, warped, low, almost not human. Leave. Tyler slammed the laptop shut. But it was too late. From the front hallway came a knock. Just one. Slow. Knock. They froze. Another knock. Louder. Knock. Then silence. Everyone looked at each other, breathless. No one moved. Then, as if in response, the camera Serena had been holding switched on by itself and began recording. She dropped it. On the screen, the camera showed something none of them saw with their eyes. The front door slowly creaking open. But to them, it stayed shut. They were looking at two different realities. What the fuck is happening? Maya whispered. Noah answered, voice hoarse. I think we're not filming a documentary anymore. We're in one. The camera kept recording. Even though no one was touching it, even though it lay flat on the wooden floor like a dead thing, its lens pointed toward the unopened front door. And yet, on the screen, that same door was wide open. Not just open, but bleeding light. A pale, unnatural glow flooded in from beyond, too bright to be moonlight, too steady to be fire. It pulsed slightly like the heartbeat of something alive. But to their naked eyes? The door was closed. Shut tight. No sound. No light. Just stillness. Carmen leaned in close to the screen. Is this a glitch? Some kind of video overlay? Serena shook her head. No. Look at the timestamp. It's real time. It's recording now. So what? Maya whispered. We're split? Seeing two versions of the house. Noah rubbed his forehead, his hands clammy with sweat. Quantum overlay? Dimensional bleed? Shit, I don't know. I studied sound, not ghosts. Tyler, who had been silent for longer than usual, stood up and took a deep breath. We need to think logically. We're dealing with something that can manipulate perception. Sight. Sound. Maybe even time. But the camera? The camera doesn't lie, Serena finished. A silence settled again, but it wasn't empty. It was full, like something breathing just out of sight. Then Serena said what they were all thinking. We need to go back upstairs. Carmen recoiled. Are you insane? We barely made it down in one piece. No. Listen. The writing on the wall, the camera sees what the eye denies. That wasn't a threat. That was a clue. Maybe even a warning. From what? A helpful ghost. Maya scoffed. Serena looked her dead in the eye. Maybe. They all hesitated. Then one by one they nodded. They climbed again, flashlights held tight, breaths shallow. But something had changed. The house was quieter. The air heavier. The third floor felt warmer than before, humid, almost tropical like a fever dream. The hallway now had only two doors. The center door, the child's room, was gone. Carmen was the first to speak. Okay, I know there were 3 doors here earlier. Tyler stepped up to the wall where the center door used to be. He ran his fingers over the wallpaper. It was seamless. No sign of a doorway, no frame, no seams. Just more of that faded wallpaper. But Serena looked through her camera lens and gasped. It's still there. Everyone turned to her. She showed them the camera screen. Through the lens, the third door remained. Not just that, it was slightly ajar. I'm going in, Serena said. Tyler grabbed her arm. No. We all go. He took point, Serena behind him with the camera still rolling. The others followed, their lights flickering as they stepped into what had once been a child's bedroom, but was now something else. The bed was gone. The wallpaper too. The room was made of stone now, cold and wet like the inside of a crypt. Strange symbols lined the walls, etched deep with something sharp. A circle was carved into the floor with 5 points, like a star. In its center lay an old reel projector, unplugged. But it began to hum. Don't touch it, Noah warned, but Tyler was already leaning over it. The reel began to turn on its own. Light flickered on the wall. The projector played no modern video, but an old 16mm film, jittering and silent. The footage was black and white. A woman standing in the very room they now occupied. Crying. Holding a small child. Then, a man entered frame. His face was hidden by shadows, but his presence was unmistakably violent. He shouted silently. Grab the child. The woman fell to her knees. The man dragged the child toward the wall, and vanished into it. The screen cut to black. The reel stopped. Noah was pale. That wasn't a recording. What do you mean? Carmen asked. I think that was a memory. The walls around them groaned. The temperature dropped again. Then Maya pointed. Something was coming through the wall. Fingers. Long, skeletal, clawing at the edges of stone. A hand emerged. Then a face. No eyes, just hollow sockets and a mouth stretched far too wide. They ran. Sprinting down the stairs, breath ragged, gear banging against their backs. But the house didn't let them go easily. The walls shifted, doors appeared and vanished. The stairs stretched longer, impossibly long, like a dream you can't wake up from. When they finally reached the first floor, they were panting, half in shock. Serena dropped to her knees. Noah threw up into a corner. Maya sat in a daze, repeating to herself, it wasn't real, it wasn't real, it wasn't real. But Tyler wasn't looking at any of them. He was staring at the wall. At the fireplace. At something behind it. There's a room back there, he whispered. Carmen snapped at him. "We're not going anywhere. Are you out of your goddamn mind?" He didn't respond. He just started moving the fireplace grating aside. Behind it, indeed, was a narrow passageway, more like a crawlspace. Dust and cobwebs spilled out as he pulled at the boards. Inside was a trapdoor. And etched into the wood, projection room. The trapdoor was cold. Not just physically, it radiated cold like a vault long sealed, hiding something that never wanted to be remembered. Dust clung to its edges like ash, and the wooden handle was worn smooth, as if grasped too many times by too many hands over too many years. Tyler knelt in front of it, breathing shallow. "This is it," he whispered. Serena was filming again even though her hands were trembling. "We don't even know what's down there." Carmen rubbed her temples. "And maybe we shouldn't find out." But Tyler was already pulling the door open. The hinges screamed. A gust of air rushed upward, stale and metallic, smelling like mildew and rot, but beneath that, something else. Something like old film stock. Like formaldehyde. Noah shined a flashlight into the darkness below. A narrow wooden ladder descended into what looked like a basement, but deeper than any normal foundation. "Jesus," he muttered. "It goes down forever." "Only one way to find out," Tyler said and started climbing. The others followed reluctantly, one by one. Serena went last, lowering the camera carefully before stepping down. The ladder creaked with every movement, and the darkness swallowed them the farther they descended. Finally they reached the bottom. A large, circular chamber awaited them. Unlike the rest of the house, this space was built from stone and iron. Cold walls lined with reels, dusty shelves filled with notebooks and old film canisters stacked high like graves. In the center of the room stood another projector, this one older, built into the wall and pointed at a massive canvas screen bolted into the rock. Carmen scanned the walls with her light. "What is this place?" Tyler turned slowly, taking it all in. "It's not just a projection room. It's a ritual room," Serena said softly. They all turned to her. She held up her camera, zooming in on markings carved into the stone around the screen. Circles, triangles, and a symbol they'd seen before in the child's room. A star with a dark center ringed by 5 smaller symbols, each representing a different element: fire, water, air, earth, and something unrecognizable. Serena's voice dropped. "It's a seal. Like a gateway." Noah picked up one of the reels and turned it over. There was no label, just a handwritten phrase scrawled in red ink across the metal casing. "The last showing." He looked at the others. "Wanna guess what happens if we play it?" "Nothing good," Maya said flatly. Tyler, of course, ignored that. He slid the reel onto the projector. With a crank and a shutter, the ancient machine flickered to life, casting a stuttering image onto the massive screen. The footage was in sepia tone. Flickering, scratchy but somehow vivid. It showed the house. As it once was. No, alive. People bustled through the halls in old 19th century clothes. A man, tall, dressed in black, stood at the top of the stairs watching. Below him, children played, a woman served tea, and a group of men in strange robes gathered around a table covered in film reels and books. Then the screen went dark for a second. When it lit up again, the same house was empty. Destroyed. Burned. And at the center of the parlor, the woman from the earlier footage. Screaming. Her mouth open in eternal silence, eyes wild, arms stretched toward the camera. Then, a cut. The screen now showed Serena, standing alone in the hallway. Present day. She wasn't filming, she was being filmed. Serena gasped. "What the hell?" The screen shifted again. Now it showed Maya asleep. Then Noah brushing his teeth that morning. Then Tyler staring directly at the lens. But none of them had recorded any of that footage. Noah stepped back. "It's been filming us. Since we got here." "More than that," Serena said. "It's watching us." Suddenly the reel snapped. The projector died. And the silence of the room was broken by a soft, wet dragging sound. They turned. From behind the shelves, something was moving. A figure emerged, its body broken and twisted, walking as if bones had been arranged wrong. Its skin was gray and wet, its jaw hanging too low, eyes sunken and glowing faintly. Carmen screamed. "Run!" They bolted for the ladder, one by one. Tyler went first, then Noah. Maya froze halfway up, screaming as something brushed her ankle, but Carmen yanked her upward, and they tumbled into the parlor, slamming the trapdoor shut behind them. The wood above it immediately warped, bubbling outward as something pounded from beneath. They didn't wait. They ran to the van, leaving most of their gear behind. Serena clutched only her camera, shaking. Tyler turned the ignition. Nothing. Again. Click, click, Nothing. Come on, he shouted, slamming the wheel. Then the lights flickered on. All of them. Headlights. Interior. And from the dashboard speakers, a voice played. A child's voice. Singing softly. Round and round the reel does spin. What you film will pull you in. The engine roared to life. They drove. Art. The house shrinking in the rearview mirror. They didn't stop until they reached a gas station 20 miles away. They stumbled out, white-faced, trembling, incoherent. The clerk called 911 thinking they were victims of some attack. At the hospital later that night, police questioned them. What happened in that house? No one had a clear answer. Tyler said, "We saw things. Things no one should ever see." Serena just kept whispering, "It's still filming us." And it was. Back at the estate, beneath the trapdoor, the projector clicked on by itself. One last frame appeared on the giant screen. The 5 students standing outside the house. But in the frame their faces were blurred. Already fading. Already being forgotten. 3 days had passed since the group fled the house. But the house hadn't let them go. Not really. They'd each gone home, back to different dorms, different apartments, scattered across the state. Professors and campus security had tried to make sense of their conflicting stories. The police report read like a nervous breakdown shared by 5 people. The official word? Gas leak. Mold exposure. Mass hysteria. The case was closed. But things had begun to change. 1. Serena. Serena couldn't stop watching the footage. Even when she tried to sleep, her mind replayed it. The child. The door. The figure dragging itself out of the wall. But worse were the clips she never filmed. Moments of herself brushing her teeth, talking to her mom on the phone, crying in the shower, all perfectly framed as if someone had been following her, camera in hand. She scanned every device. Her laptop, her phone, the SD cards. Some of the clips weren't even in known formats. One file wouldn't open, until late one night it did. It was footage of her sleeping. Shot from inside her closet. She moved out of her dorm that night. To Tyler. Tyler threw himself into research. He spent hours in the university's archives, trying to dig up anything about the house. It had no official name, just a vague address on an abandoned property registry. But in a newspaper article from 1896, he found something. Renowned illusionist E.W. Latchwell acquires a manor in the hills for his final performance. A showcase of dream, film, and death. An illusionist. A filmmaker. And maybe, a cultist. Latchwell had been obsessed with the idea of capturing spirits on film. He believed a camera didn't just observe, it recorded the soul. Rumors claimed his last film was never shown publicly, because the audience never returned. Tyler stared at the faded article, heart pounding. The symbol from the projection room, it had been drawn on the corner of the page. The 5-pointed seal. It was Latchwell's mark. 3. Noah. Noah had locked his room, taped over his laptop's webcam, and stopped speaking to almost everyone. At night, he'd wake up gasping for breath, the sound of a projector clicking somewhere near. One morning he woke up with blood on his hands. Not a lot. Just a smear. Like he'd touched something injured. He checked the mirror. His eyes were different. Not glowing, not monstrous. Just wrong. Like something else was peering out through them. His fingernails had started to blacken around the edges. He called Tyler. We brought something back. Tyler didn't argue. For Carmen. Carmen tried to pretend none of it happened. She even rejoined her student film group, started editing her senior project like normal. But strange glitches infected her footage. In the middle of a wedding shoot, a frame popped up, a shot from inside the house. Just one frame. A flash of the staircase. Then another. And another. She stopped working. One night, as she reviewed some backup drives, she found a new folder. She didn't create it. It was titled simply, FINA_GUT. Inside, clips of all of them, Serena, Tyler, Noah, Maya, and herself. But twisted. The footage was distorted, intercut with static and strange symbols. In some shots, their bodies moved unnaturally as if puppeteered. And then, a shot of her own death. Not a jump scare. Not horror movie gore. Just her. Lying still. Pale. Mouth open. Eyes blank. She shut off her computer. It turned itself back on. 5. Maya. Maya was the first to change. Not emotionally, physically. She'd started complaining about feeling stretched. Like her body didn't fit right. She'd wake up with bruises in the shape of fingers on her back, around her neck, her arms. She stopped going to class. Then she stopped answering calls. One night, Serena and Tyler forced their way into her apartment. They found her in the bathroom, staring at herself in the mirror, not moving. The mirror was fogged, but her reflection was perfectly clear. Not mimicking her. Smiling. She turned slowly to them and said, "I think I'm still down there." Tyler froze. "What do you mean?" "I think what came back isn't really me." Then she collapsed. They took her to the ER. She didn't remember the conversation. But when she was admitted for psych eval, her x-rays showed something strange. Her bones were changing shape. The film spreads. Tyler finally decided to digitize the entire reel he had stolen from the house. But the moment he uploaded the file to his computer, his screen blinked black. Then a new folder appeared. Projector. He clicked it. Inside was a document. Not video. Not audio. Just text. Read. "They see now. But they saw before. What is filmed is made. What is made becomes. You open the frame. The world is next." He yanked out the hard drive. But it was too late. The footage had already uploaded, automatically, to his cloud backup. Synced to his shared drives. Accessible to anyone in his circle. And hours later, he got a text from an unknown number. Just one word. Play. Epilogue of Chapter 5. The camera blinks. At 3:13 a.m. in a college film lab, a screen turned on by itself. The room was empty. But on the screen, 5 figures stood in the center of a burning house. They did not move. They did not speak. They simply watched, as the screen watched back. A whisper came through the speakers, distant, static-laced, and hollow. "Now you're part of the cut." Then a click. The sound of a real ending. But the projector? It kept spinning. The night Maya disappeared, Serena was awake. She'd been editing footage, still trying to isolate something meaningful. A frame. A shape. A clue. It was just after 2 a.m. when she got the message. From Maya. "Don't follow. Don't find me. It's already filming from inside." Then, silence. The search for Maya. Tyler was the one who traced Maya's phone using an old GPS trick he learned during a class project. She was somewhere off Route 14, near the edge of the old Latchwell estate grounds, land that extended far beyond the main house. She shouldn't have been able to get there. The roads were closed. The area was condemned. But still there she was. Serena, Tyler, and Noah drove out before sunrise, headlights slicing through a mist unnaturally thick. It felt like the fog didn't just blur, it hid things. Every tree looked like a silhouette. Every shadow felt like it might move if you blinked too slowly. "I think she went back," Serena whispered, staring out the window. "Back where?" Noah asked. Tyler didn't answer. They reached the old iron gates by 4:23 a.m. Maya's phone lay just inside the entrance. Face up. Screen cracked. Camera on. Recording. 2. The second house. Not the manor. This was something else. Deep in the woods, past overgrown paths and half-sunken statues, they found a smaller structure. Stone, octagonal, sealed with rusted chains that had already been broken open. "This wasn't in any of the records," Tyler said. "It's not on the blueprints." "Then what is it?" Serena asked. He looked up at the stone above the arched door. A single word was engraved there, ancient and worn. "Studio." They stepped inside. 3. The studio of E.W. Latchwell. The interior was pitch black, until Noah flipped his flashlight on. Dozens of cameras filled the room. Dust-covered. Set up on tripods. All aimed at a central chair bolted to the floor. Around it, chalk markings, ritual symbols, and the 5-pointed seal, bigger than they'd seen before. Covering the entire floor. There were bones in the corners. Tiny ones. Like bird bones. Or worse. Latchwell didn't just film ghosts, Tyler muttered. He summoned them. "No," Serena said, voice barely audible. "He trapped them." She walked toward a metal cabinet, something humming inside. A strange warmth. She opened it. Inside was a film reel, still glowing faintly red. Labeled in blood-colored ink. The original cut. The hairs on Noah's neck stood up. "We destroy it. Now." But then a sound echoed behind them. A low, mechanical whir. A camera blinked on. And then another. And another. Dozens of dead cameras, ancient and powerless, began filming again. Recording them. For Maya's return. They didn't see her at first. She stepped out from the shadows slowly, head tilted slightly, fingers twitching as if unused to movement. Her voice was strange, like two people speaking at once. One calm. One not human. "You shouldn't have come back." "Maya?" Serena stepped forward, eyes welling. "We came to help you." "You can't help me." Her smile cracked too wide. I'm already in the final cut. The cameras turned toward her now, focusing. Click, click, click. And then Maya's form shimmered, like an image out of sync. Her face blurred. Her arms elongated. Her mouth opened, not in speech but in a horrifying screech of static. Tyler threw the reel to the ground. "Help me burn it," he yelled. Noah grabbed the emergency gasoline can they'd brought in the trunk. Serena struck a match. The moment the flames touched the reel, the cameras screamed, each letting out a shrill mechanical cry as lenses shattered and smoke erupted. The ground shook. The studio walls began to bleed light. "And Maya?" she screamed. But it wasn't pain, it was fury. 1,000 voices inside her howled through the room. "You fools," she hissed. "It doesn't live in the film. The film was just the bait. It is the camera." 5. The entity. Everything went dark. Only one light remained, the glow from a single projector that none of them had seen before. It rose from the center of the ritual seal, built into the ground itself. And it was projecting one image. Their deaths. Each of them. Frame by frame. Like a prophecy. Serena saw herself, strangled by unseen hands. Noah, torn apart on a film set. Tyler, hanging in the editing lab, a camera tied to his neck. "No," Serena whispered. "We changed the reel. We changed the story." She lunged toward the projector, ripping the reel from its core. The light flickered. The studio shrieked. And then the entity appeared. Not with fire or thunder, but in silence. A figure made of celluloid strips and reel spools, its head a warped camera lens, its fingers trailing rolls of film. It hovered just inches off the ground. Wherever it passed, reality twisted like it was editing the world in real time. Noah froze. "It's the editor." Serena pulled out her camera, the one that had followed them since the house. "This thing wants to film us?" She turned the lens toward the entity. "Then we film it back." 6. Shooting the editor. The moment she hit record, the entity screamed, a high-pitched analog whine, and lunged. But Tyler ran forward, distracting it. Serena focused the lens. She framed it, zoomed in, and hit the red delete button. Her screen glitched. Error. Then, clip deleted successfully. The editor twitched. Its limbs flickered. Its form distorted, glitching. Its screams became muffled static. Then silence. It fell backward, and burst into flames. But not normal fire. White. Pure white. 7. Escape. The ritual circle collapsed as the studio burned around them. Maya screamed again, this time in pain, and her body went limp. Tyler caught her. She was human again. Her eyes wide. Her skin cold. "Where am I?" she whispered. They didn't answer. They ran. The cameras shattered behind them. The trees turned back to trees. The fog lifted. And by the time they reached the road, the studio was gone. Not burned. Not ruined. Gone. As if it had never been there. Epilogue of Chapter 6. The Last File. Back in Serena's apartment, she opened her laptop. No files. No footage. It was all gone. But as she closed the lid, her screen flickered for just a moment. A single frame. A single face. Hers. Staring. Smiling. With someone else behind her, just out of focus. Click. The screen went black. 1. Fragments. Maya didn't speak for 3 days. She sat in Serena's room, wrapped in a blanket, eyes flickering like a projector stuck on the same frame. Sometimes she would murmur things, broken words, half sentences, names that didn't belong to anyone they knew. "He wrote the script, before we were born. The splices are bleeding. It's not over until the credits roll." On the 4th morning she whispered, "There are more." Serena turned from her desk. "More what?" "More editors. But they're not all editors. Some are directors, sound designers, cinematographers, each tied to a genre, each feeding off a kind of fear. Like spirits of film?" Noah asked. Maya slowly nodded. Latchwell didn't just make a haunted movie. He made a gateway. He filmed the language of control. And now, parts of it are loose. 2. The final project. Tyler made a choice. He suggested one last thing. They would create their own film. A new one. Not found footage. Not horror. A confession. A testimony. If the camera traps souls, he said, then maybe it can also set them free. They would tell the truth. Frame by frame. They filmed in daylight. They used no music, no effects. Just their faces. Their story. Their mistakes. It wasn't for viral fame. It wasn't even for anyone else. It was their way to end it. to take authorship back. And when they uploaded it to the student archive, simply titled The Uncanny Film, a story of what we saw, something strange happened. Maya's reflection stopped moving on its own. Serena's camera stopped recording by itself. The dream stopped. The static vanished. And a week later, when Tyler checked the upload, the file had been marked, processed, archived. Story complete. 3. Epilogue fade to black. Months passed. They graduated. They moved on, with scars, yes, but also with a bond no one else could understand. They never spoke of the house again. They never revisited the forest. But sometimes when Serena walks past a mirror, or when Maya edits sound, or when Tyler adjusts the lighting in a small theater, they hear it, a low click, a shudder, a reel turning just once, but only once, as if the story acknowledges them, not with fear, but with respect. Postscript, what you just read. The story you've just finished, The Uncanny Film, is a work of fiction. There is no E.W. Latchwell. No haunted house in Vermont. No cursed reel that edits reality. It's a story created from imagination, emotion, and the universal fear of losing control over our own narratives. But like all good horror tales, it carries a truth underneath. That the stories we tell ourselves, what we film, remember, delete, and replay, can define or destroy us. Choose your frames carefully. And always check who's holding the camera.